Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the impact of a specific traumatic experience that I went through and how it still affects me over 10 years on. When something quite traumatic happens in our lives, I want to raise awareness of how that can affect you for the rest of your life and how it can shape you, it can change you into, in some cases, a very, very different human being. When I do talk about this experience, I often say that I started off one person and I came out somebody totally different. A lot of you will already know what experience I'm talking about, and that is when I got a very serious infection in my back called discitis. It is very, very rare that it is seen in somebody of my age because it is typically seen in the older generations. Some of the doctors that were treating me at the time actually said that this is the first time that they'd seen discitis in such a young child. I want to just share with you the impact that this has had on me, in the hope that someone out there is watching this video who has been through a traumatic experience themselves and is experiencing similar side effects. This is a period of my life that I struggle to talk about, and you know, over 10 years on, I still struggle to talk about it. Trauma affects people in very different ways. How it affects people, really, I guess it just depends on the circumstances. I guess it depends on the type of person that you are to begin with. Me going into this horrible situation, I was a very shy, young, quiet child. The experience has changed me even in the tiniest different ways that, like, you wouldn't really imagine that it would affect me or other people in this way, but it has. I can't watch certain TV shows. So there's one particular television show here in the UK called Casualty, and it follows a team of doctors and nurses in the same hospital, and it just kind of follows their day-to-day lives. I used to love that television show. I used to love Casualty, but now I no longer can watch it. I can't bring myself to watch it. I also am very picky with what medical shows I can watch. Silly little things like just watching a TV show that is completely fictional, and I can't do it. I can't watch it. It's actually the same with certain songs. One of the songs that was constantly playing on the radio and actually was a massive, massive hit during my time in hospital was a song by Fergie, actually, which is weird. But at the time, Fergie was a very, very popular artist. I think at the time she was either getting ready to release her first solo album, The Duchess, or she'd already released The Duchess. But one of the songs on there that was very, very big at the time was Fergie's Big Girls Don't Cry. And I cannot listen to that song. Actually, I didn't know this until I got out of hospital, but my mum would listen to this song on the radio when they were traveling to and from the hospital seeing me, because they didn't stay all the time. They actually still had to go to work because this carried on for so long. I think they got a certain amount of time off from work, but then they had to go back because money was tight, so they couldn't stay with me all of the time. So I would only see them for a few hours on an evening, usually maybe 5 till 8 or 6 till 8 or something like that on an evening, and then the rest of the time I was just on my own. And I very much got used to my own company and trying to keep myself occupied, and that's another way that the experience has actually affected me, is that it's made me quite introverted. I think I spent so long by myself keeping myself occupied. I was very, very lonely. I just got so used to having to be on my own and having to deal with certain things on my own. Sometimes if too many people are around me at one time, I get overwhelmed. Yeah, my mum would listen to Big Girls Don't Cry on the radio to and from, you know, traveling to see me. And she said that that song always reminded her of me. I get claustrophobic. During my, you know, whole hospital experience for years, actually, afterwards as well, I used to have regular MRI scans. I've had, I think, over 10 MRI scans in total just because of my hospital experience with my back, and it never ever got any easier. They are scary looking massive machines that have this tiny little hole in the center of them. Your whole body goes into this really long corridor, circular corridor almost, and each time I had an MRI scan, I was in there for about 2 to 3 hours constantly. And during those 2 to 3 hours, I was completely past myself. I would shake, I would cry. Actually, the very first time that I saw an MRI machine, I screamed. I hate the noise that MRI scans make as well. It's kind of like a lot of clanging and banging and like buzzing. It's like all of the magnets and the mechanics inside the machine moving around. They scared the living hell out of me, and it made me, I have a really big problem now with getting too enclosed. The thought of going into a hospital scares me. When we went into specifically James Cook University Hospital, we were not told how serious this problem was. So we were thinking, oh well, you know, we'll just pack an overnight bag. I might be there for 2 nights maximum. I'll be back home, it'll be fine. That was not the case. My dad drove us up to the hospital, and the team over there who were expecting me were a little bit confused because they were actually expecting me to arrive in the back of an ambulance. Somehow miscommunication between the 2 different hospitals got confused, and instead of a hospital taking me, my dad and my mum and I drove up off our own bat. So they were very, very shocked. Basically, I went into the hospital expecting to be there for a maximum of a couple of nights, but I went in there and the doctor saw me and he said, you are going to be in here for at least 6-7 weeks, maybe longer, who knows. And I felt trapped. I did not leave hospital. I did not feel the fresh air. I did not see the outside world. I didn't, you know, I was just confined to, you know, the hospital walls. I am now terrified that if I go into hospital, they will basically tell me that I have to spend an extended period of time there. And I know that that's a very, very silly thing to think. I do also get flashbacks and have nightmares about my experience. These nightmares, they could just be like, you know, daydreams, or they could actually be nightmares like when I'm physically asleep and I'm dreaming about it. But these then lead to things like panic attacks, and I start to shake and short of breath and things like that, and feel a bit sicky sometimes. And it's just not nice to constantly kind of be tormented about what's happened. I'm very, very lucky that I came through the other side. However, this particular experience has impacted me negatively in so many different ways. So yeah, I do. I get flashbacks about how I would cry when my parents had to leave. And just all of that time where I would just be alone through the night and through the day, and just I don't know, it was just a very, very dark time. Flashbacks and nightmares of the operation I had, them telling me that I might not be able to walk again, them telling me that, you know, if this had carried on for much longer, I'd have died. And those are really hard-hitting things to have to hear at 11-year-old. I do consider myself lucky. However, my God, this was such a horrible experience to have to go through. I find it difficult to talk about it. I don't like hearing others talk about it because it just brings everything back even more. My back is still very much not right. Let's just say I still get a lot of pain in my back every single day. There's no hiding it, there's no getting away from it. I've tried a lot of pain medications and whatnot, counselling and therapy sessions and stuff over the years, but nothing has changed. Other health problems have now stemmed from this, mentally and physically. Anxiety, I now have depression, and I have OCD because I need to check things to make sure that they are safe. I now suffer from chronic pain. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 2016. The pain kind of is not just in my back anymore, it's all over my body. I really hope that me talking about this is helping others in terms of you are not alone. We've all been through events that have changed us. It's just unfortunately one of those things that we get impacted by these kinds of events. I want to just thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I realise it's been a long one. It's been hard going for me and for you probably watching this. So thank you for making it to the end of this video. I hope that you maybe found it useful in some way in terms of you being able to relate to what I've been talking about, the impact of traumatic events. If you're new here, please go ahead and click on that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope to see you in my next video where hopefully we'll be talking about something a little bit more positive than this. Thank you guys, and I will see you in the next one.